So you just reinstalled your laptop from scratch. And it turns out it contains some kind of problem on it that makes it possible for an attacker to just log on to it without you knowing. And when you do the research, it's actually been like that for years and years. Welcome to Threat Talk. My name is Lieuwe-Jan Koning, and today we're going to discuss a deep dive into the CUPS printing system for Linux. Let's get on to it. Welcome to Threat Talks. Let's delve deep into the dynamic world of cybersecurity. Let me first introduce my two guests of today. First of all, Luca Cipriano, he is a threat intel specialist at Ontoit, and Rob Maas, the field CTO of Ontoit. This guy we hire to figure out how things go wrong, and this guy we hire to solve that. So let's find out if they can break it and fix it today. Subject of today, like I said, is a vulnerability in the CUPS system. Well, let's start with what the CUPS system is for, Rob.
Okay, yeah, so the CUPS system is for Linux systems that allows printers to be communicated with in a universal way, I would say. So it doesn't matter if the printer supports PLC, PDF, those kinds of protocols. CUPS will abstract that, make an abstract layer, and make sure that others can communicate with the printer, even if the printer doesn't support certain extensions.
Linux, Macs, not Windows, I think?
Not Windows,
No.
as far as I know, yeah.
No, not Windows.
Yeah, and this episode is about services that get added to your system and are, well, you should be able to trust them to be configured in a sane way by default. And it turns out it's not like that.
Yeah,
so
because it comes also by default in certain distributions. So it's not something that you necessarily install yourself. I think like, for example, Red Hat has it by default and it is enabled by default. I installed it as well in the past because I was thinking I had a crazy idea of print from my Ubuntu system. In the end, I gave up because that's not like I decided to print from the VDI. That's easier. So yeah, but I deleted it in the end.
yeah, it's really hard to get that working typically.
Well,
I haven't tried for years.
It's a bit. You can do that, but it's a bit annoying. And actually, that was better indeed because then
we briefly talked about this in the main episode.
Yeah.
I printed a lot of. I remember a lot when I was not attending, not close to the printer. I was sent a print job once, and it would actually print out one character and then next page, one character next page.
Yeah, you always have problems. In the end, I gave up.
It got me a lot of paper for secondary purposes. Yeah. Anyway,
indeed.
So that's CUPS, right?
Yes.
That's supposed to make this easy for us.
Well, yeah, indeed. But in the end, well, basically a researcher, Evil Sockets, I don't know his real name, but I read his research was really good and interesting. Well, he found out one day while he was looking at his laptop that there was a service that was by default listening on a port UDP 631, and it was listening from everything. So it was just open, working and listening. And then he decided to say, hey, what is this?
Yeah,
Why is this service listening?
For certain distributions of Linux, certain flavors, like Red Hat, if you just install it fresh, right? And then this port is open and you can connect to it, and it's no restriction, no firewall whatsoever.
Yeah, there is a configuration file that I think that whoever built CUPS, I think it's from Apple or something. They assumed that you would set up something in the config and not leave it the way it is. But I think that a lot of people also assume that, well, if you have something just new, you don't really need to go and start to check all the config file of every packages that comes by default, because it will be like quite a lot of work, I believe.
But why would it be open? I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm printing, I don't need to receive stuff.
So
I'd say.
this is not really something that So the service that was listening, it's called CUPS Browse D, and it is a service that it is used for kind of I shall say plug and play configuration. So you have it on your network, and you need to add a printer or something. Then it uses protocols like DNS, SD, or MDNS to just communicate with the rest of the environment. And somebody says, hey, I'm a printer. Oh, yes, you're a printer. So, I'm going to add you. So that's a service that is used for that. So to make it easy to add a printer that is in your network.
Kind of plug and play setup feature.
Similar, yes.
Yeah.
Similar to plug and play.
So now you're a printer if you want to attack someone.
Yeah, now you should pretend to be a printer. So you say, yeah, I'm a printer. And actually, the funny thing is like that the researcher that found this is started to use, of course, Shodan, and he found that there were a lot of IPs that had open port 631 UDP, and they allowed connection inbound, which also is something that's Rob, probably you have something to say about that, right?
Yeah, probably there is some people that do this on purpose. Because normally not many
if you want to print from home and you're at the office.
not many people have nowadays a public IP, especially not public IP version 4. So directly internet access without any firewall or netting in between. Netting is not a security feature, but it would prevent
As a security side effect.
A security side effect, I like that wording. So if you open it up on the internet, then you really should know what you're doing. Apparently they are not, but that there's so many servers open on the internet with this protocol. That surprises me.
Yeah, indeed. That's quite bad.
Yeah, well, if the default setting of an operating system is to open the port and your machine is somehow on the internet.
Yeah, but then somehow on the internet is it's hard nowadays to get somehow on the internet. There's always netting.
Have you ever been to a fast food chain or so? There's free Wi-Fi there.
Yeah, but then you need net before you can access your port.
We spoke in the past about UPnP, for example.
Yeah,
UPnP.
Like
I don't know if something like this it could open, but there can be mistakes.
If you go to your favorite coffee bar to get the Wi-Fi there, then you will be on an internal IP address, so the RFC 1918, and not directly on a public IP address. So most of the times I would expect that you need to do some work to get it open.
Vulnerability once in an access point created by Apple years ago, and that would have a feature by handing out IPv6 addresses to all the devices that would connect and route it. So not with the not. So there's a whole different topic, but when we come to IPv6, we should talk about it one day.
One day.
Then we get this kind of problems introduced again.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's lots of machines that have this port open, and then.
Yeah, so, what happened is that the attacker, of course, can scan the network, can be in your network already, and then it finds that you have this service listening on this port, and what the attacker does, it just sends a packet to the victim, advertising himself as a printer. And of course, the service is listening and it's trusting. There is no check, and it says, "Oh, you're a printer, nice." Then it's gonna send a get printer attributes request.
So your laptop is going to do that to the attacker. Then.
Yes. So it says, "Oh, you're a printer, so just give me your attributes, so I can add you to my to the printers." And it sends like an IPP, which is an internet printing protocol that is used to communicate with printers and shares the details of the printer. And it's going to send this request, and it's going to send this request to the URL that the attacker added to their packets, which is the malicious server that the attacker is hosting. So then at that point, you have your laptop replying to that message and saying, "Okay, hey, you're a printer, just give me your data, give me your details, so I can add you to my printers." Basically.
Yeah, so what? Then I have the attacker's printer, and then I still have to go press print then. There's
a little bit of extra step before we get there, but yes, indeed, you need to press print. But what I can do is, for example, if I know that you have a printer that is called printer A, I can spoof, for example, the name and say, "Hey, I'm the printer. I'm called printer A1 or A dot or something," so that you can make it also easy to make a mistake and select the wrong printer, or you don't even realize it because you don't know it's happening, that somebody added the printer. But before we reach that point, what happened is that the victims, now it retrieves all the details from that are provided by the attackers. For example, the printer name, the printer specification, the details, all packaged, and it creates a file that is called PPD, which is PostScript printer description, and it's the file where you start a print job, and your system knows all the attributes and the details of the printer that you're going to use, so it knows how to send the print job, how it's used. And this is one of the steps of the attack. Then there is we didn't mention it, but this is not like just one CVE. It was like 3 or 4 CVEs, I think 4, that they are kind of chained together. Because at this point, when now the victim has this new printer, which is printer 1 dot, for example, and then when the attacker, the victim, starts a print job and it selects that printer, the PPD file that is created, it contains also the code, the malicious code that needs to be executed, that the attacker placed it there. And when you start the print job, what happens is that you have, a UNIX system, they use like a Fmatic, which is an open source printing systems that's, it's like helps integrate printers and this kind of things. And this Fmatic has a function which is called Fmatic rip command line. And this function is used to pass commands together with the print job. So it allows the system to run the commands that are there. This happened because they needed to...
do you mean the print, the driver, so to speak, of the printer that contains code that needs to be executed in order to print?
This PPD file, it might contain code in order to create the printer, and this is this needs to be like this for integration purposes.
Wait. So the printer announces, the fake printer announces itself to me. Then I'm going to collect all kinds of data of the printer, including the way how to install it, which is a script that I then execute.
It's not necessarily the way how to install it, but it's a whole sort of data that says, hey, I am printer X from this brand. These are my specification. I can print on this paper and this kind of things. And then when you print a print job, you need to execute this code to whatever. Yeah. So that's the code that is the malicious code that the attacker can place.
So I'm just pretending I'm a printer. I can trick the system into executing my own code.
Yes, indeed.
Intended to print.
But it's intended because there's a lot of compatibilities with all different...
I'm starting to understand why the CVE score is that high.
Yes. At the beginning, to be honest, I think they placed it a bit too high because, of course, it requires user interaction. But again, it's more than one CVE that... needs to be changed, so some are lower, some are higher, and apparently this issue in this library, in this function, it's known for a long time, but it can't be. It's not that they can do something about it because it will break a lot of compatibility with legacy printers or all these kind of things. Because the researcher, he just mentioned that he found legitimate code that is that some printers, they add like for example Perl code in order to be able to print. So there's actually legitimate strings of Perl code that allows the printing job to run.
There's also no fix on a software level then for this.
Well, no, you're gonna break other stuff.
Either don't print or what would you tell the customer?
Don't print is always a good idea. Save a tree, huh?
Not everybody's ready for that, but yeah.
Okay, that's now always check, of course, the services that are listening. I think especially on servers that are especially publicly exposed, but even in the internal network, it's good to check for listening ports and check if you know what servers are tied to it. So if you don't
so then the only thing you need to block then is the initial things where you announce yourself as a printer, but the whole mechanism of downloading the code from the printer, you cannot live without them. So that you keep.
Yeah, maybe stop one step earlier is do I need caps? So maybe
that was my conclusion.
So,
I just deleted it because
it comes default installed, and I think you can you can disable it on a lot of servers. So the first thing I would do is check if I need it on that server and if the port is listening, and otherwise remove it. That would be step one.
Yeah. Can you print to PDF without caps?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? Okay, good.
You should be able to print to PDF
solution.
without caps.
Never tried it.
Never tried, but I think you should be able.
I was one of those guys that gave up after a week of struggles with Linux and printing.
I mean, you can screenshot what you need. If you need that's a PDF. You don't really need to print to PDF, but you can take a screenshot.
If anyone needs help printing in Linux, then in the main talk we talked to Jeroen. He actually he did a proper job at it, but I think he even contributed to the project. So I should probably blame him.
It's not fair.
Maybe
we blame him. Okay, but assume that you need caps for printing, then you can of course restrict the ports that after the now is listening to every address. So it's *6 631 it was, I believe, UDP.
UDP 631.
Yeah, so maybe you can segregate that on the network level in the configuration. That's what you can do on a server. The other thing is, of course, segment your network. Put really strict policies in place so that only printers can talk to that port and users that are allowed to do that. Maybe you can introduce something like user ID.
If you use Zero Trust, by default you deny everything, and then if you have a printer, then you can allow that port only to the printer.
Yeah, we do print. We have a firewall rule that says...
you just specify what needs to be there and from which
from the client network to the printer and vice versa. These applications and ports are allowed. And those
it's a very simple policy, but of course you need to have your network segmented. But
and the control point in between. I mean,
of course. Otherwise, segmentation has no.
So you need a firewall.
If you just route it, then it doesn't work. So that might be. I think that's the best step you can take. But not only for this server, but in general, because then you get strict control of what's happening in your network. So on the software level, we can do not much because there's no patch because it will break a lot. But it might that some XDR tooling that now also exists for Linux systems might detect abnormal comments when they are executed. So when someone press the printing button,
it will detect that a weird command is executed.
Weird comments that are not usual to the system. So that might help. But then also these EDR solutions on Linux systems are relatively new, not very common.
I was thinking about that, to be honest. I was like, but it can help.
It can, exactly. So I think that's about it. What you can do, but I would start with probably only a few servers need this service. So start there, and segmenting your network is always a good idea.
This problem really is about default configuration that shouldn't be there. I mean, why would I mean, even from respectable operating system companies.
If you ask me what normally the case is for this kind of insecure defaults is that they want to have something working out of the box.
It's like ease of use probably. And
so with the same, even if you purchase a firewall, a lot of firewalls have a kind of a default configuration where traffic or only internal traffic, but at least traffic is allowed. Because then you can plug
not
it
even logged sometimes.
Yeah, and then you can plug it in your network and it works. Otherwise, people are starting to complain, hey, I bought a security device, I plugged it in my network, and now everything is being blocked.
We should be we should be taking a burden to secure stuff. I mean,
indeed. But in this case,
I locked my house this morning.
You did? Did you? Sure.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
No, but
I got used to it. But if you're not used to that,
but to be honest, I think that in this specific case, it's a bit difficult because, like, again, when you have like something by default, you can start to look at the services that are running. If it's something that I doubt that everybody does that. But
why should this service be running by default?
But I understand. But like from the user point of view perspective, like you don't expect that you need to check every packages that comes by default and all the services that are running and everything. It's not that you assume that. Yeah.
So we should conclude. This is a call to action to everybody who ships products to properly touch every configuration file and make it in a zero trust way.
Make it at least secure by default. And if customers then want to do something that's introduce risk
and check yourself.
Them. Yeah, check yourself.
Pen test yourself.
Or
too.
if you are a security researcher like Evil Socket, and you find something like that. But if you find something like that, do like him. Spend some time to figure out why and what and how you could exploit it, and then the world is a better place.
And then you're going to be in Threat Talks mentioned. Because you did something.
Still, it isn't fixed. Still, it isn't fixed.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And normally it would be...
that's a good point. So if you have... it's mostly Linux. I don't think Apple is affected because that is probably...
Yeah, I think it was only on
a couple of
Linux. I don't remember what.
So it's good to actually check whether you should probably scan your laptop from or your Linux server or whatever on port UDP 631.
Well, just check the running services if you have like this CUPS browse the listening.
Because you could be really exposed to this at the moment.
But in general, it's always good to do and look for listening ports on your system. And then just if there's anything that you cannot...
netstat-an.
SS-min-l if you're a debugging guy.
Let's give them a list of commands that they can run.
No, but
that is a promise, and they will be in the show notes.
You list them, and if you see anything that you think, hey, that's awkward, then see if you can figure out what it is and why it is there.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. You didn't make my life... you didn't reassure me much at the moment. But thanks anyway. And to you listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard today, please like us because it allows us to spread the word further. Don't forget to subscribe because we will deliver a next episode next week into your inbox. And here from Onto It headquarters, I thank you once again and hope to see you next time. Thank you for listening to Threat Talks, a podcast by Onto It Cybersecurity and AMX-IX. Did you like what you heard? Do you want to learn more? Follow Threat Talks to stay up to date on the topic of cybersecurity.